your heart out.
Hi, I'm Kayla Ogden.
And I'm Rachel Sear.
And this is Write Your Heart Out, our podcast about where we chat about writing for you.
All right. Well, we have some fun stuff to talk about today. We did a few cool things.
Yes, we've been working our little tails off.
Submitting.
Yes. We saw this thing on this website called Reedsy, which Reedsy has like a lot of great, resources for writers. I would recommend checking it out. And they have a really good YouTube channel with this chick, Shailene Woodley.
Shailene, the actress?
Oh, is that
the actress from, like, Insurgent? Shailene, Woodsy, isn't it?
Oh.
Oh, man. We gotta look it up.
Okay. So the Reedsy chick... Oh, here she is.
Okay.
Try doing a daily writing prompt or free write. If you just...
So her name's Shailene something.
Okay, well, not the actress, as long as we're clear on that. She seems cool.
It's funny because when I go to their page, they're not having that much of her, but she's been doing it forever.
Okay.
Anyway, so they have a really great YouTube channel where they talk a lot about the craft of writing, which I would recommend. And then because Rachel and I have been working on writing short stories and thinking a lot about getting published, one of the ways to do that is to win these contests. I don't think I had ever entered a contest before, but you had sort of won that contest at CSM.
Yeah. Yes. Sure. Yes.
You were one of the people who were chosen to perform your short story. So anyways, Reedsy had this one and we were like, oh, cool. It's called Prompted. And if you win $250 and you get your short story sort of publicized. You get to say that you won. And basically you look at these prompts. There's new prompts every week. You choose one, you write a short story about it, and then you submit it. And
they're sponsored by different authors.
That's the part we didn't know.
We did not know that. And so the author for the week that we submitted, or almost submitted, in my case, this author specifically, she loves to write about characters that are like barely redeemable. Like that's part of her thing. She has a YouTube channel. She has her own little publishing thing too. Maybe we should look up what her name was. But one of her big things was that she likes characters who are right on the edge, protagonists that are right on the edge of being bad. The prompts all kind of aligned with that in some sort of way. However, I didn't read that ahead of time.
Yes, so her name was Mel Torfranca, and she's a full-time author. Her latest book was Underground Royalty. And I think you were saying, like, she might have, like, a small press or something.
I think that's what it said. When I was reading about her, I'm pretty sure that she had like a pretty thorough background in all of this.
Yeah, she's like, how far can a character go before losing the reader's hope for redemption? And the contest was number 303 called Beyond Redemption. It ended up getting 328 entries with 156 stories. The winner still has not been announced, and the winner will not be Rachel, nor will it be I, because although we both wrote short stories based on these prompts, we both decided not to submit them for different reasons. So yes. What was your reason that you were like, oh, actually my character isn't Beyond Redemption? Or
So I was going to still submit with that in mind. I was like, I really do stand behind my story. I like it. My prompt was a situation where your protagonist could have chosen forgiveness, but instead they chose revenge. I feel like my story did that beautifully. I liked it a lot. Mm-hmm. The problem was I read about the author, and this character is very likable. She's like a sweet teenager, and like she's had a hard life, and there's no reason to hate her throughout the story until the end when she chooses revenge. And the biggest problem was that my story was like 3,500 words, and when I went to submit, it was a 3,000 word max. I went through my story 2-3 times, and I was like, yes, I learned how to kill some darlings with the compliment, but I'm not willing to do it for this contest. I just wasn't willing to do it. I didn't have it in my brain space to edit it down. You very kindly offered to help me cut it down, but I said no.
Yeah.
I didn't want it.
I was like, I'll kill that shit for you. I read it once. Yeah, I'm like, there wasn't a lot of, like, fat to cut off. Like, it felt short. Like, I remember being like, oh, mine is long. And then mine was 2,000 words. And I'm like, yours was really short. And yours was 3,500 words. And I think that it's a good sign if it feels like it flows. Like, there's nothing to, like, get caught up on.
Okay.
Or there was no part where you put it down or you get stuck or you don't understand. Yeah, so I agree. I mean, I'm sure if you had an editor go through it with a fine pick comb, they could cut things. There's probably things that would make the story better not to have, but I didn't see anything like that glaringly. And
good.
so, yeah, I feel like that's a really good choice.
Yeah, I knew that it wasn't going to get picked because of what the author's style was. Mm-hmm. And then I didn't want to cut it down on top of it for this specific contest. So that was that. But yours, I didn't think it felt long. I mean, no, I thought it was fun. It was like a fun little roller coaster where these characters were like, do I really love them? I don't know. I feel like I feel like the author could have picked that one up and been like, huh, this woman's she's got a little bit of
the main character.
Yeah, the main character's got a little bit of an edge to her that, like, maybe she could go another way.
So there's two characters in my short story, and neither of them are that likable. I don't think, but I think they're, like, interesting to read about.
They are.
And, like, what they're doing is interesting. So I think it could have been picked. I don't know. There was, like, 328 entries, though. So it's like, what are the fucking chances? And all you win is 200. So here's the thing. I wouldn't have minded submitting this story on the down low. I spent 2 days writing it, like, not 24 hours, but, you know, like, my writing time in those days, I spent writing this story. Because I thought, you know, if I won, that would be, like, kind of cool. It's like, look, out of all these entries, and it's for Reedsy, and look at me.
It's a nice little ego boost on top of it.
Yeah, put a little feather in my cap. But, so I and I go and I press publish, and then my story pops up in its own, like, user-generated content page that I didn't know that was going to happen, right? I press submit. I think that it's going to somebody's email somewhere, which maybe it did, but all of a sudden it was publicly on the internet.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't.
And like, an account was kind of created for me where it's like, this is your Reedsy page, and this is your first short story that you've published here, and people can comment on it. And, you know, now it's on, I guess maybe it's on, like, a list somewhere of ones that were submitted to this contest. And here, if you next time you want to, like, publish a story on Reedsy, you publish it here. And it's like this kind of, like, community writer vibe. And I noticed that, like, if I looked at the winner for, say, last week's Promptly contest, I could go to their page and see that they've submitted, you know, stories to the last 40 weeks of this, or 30 weeks, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you can read all their stories and shit. And
which is a cool concept.
It is.
However, if you're not prepared for it.
It depends on your goals,
Totally.
Right? And so a lot of other publications, like, say I were to submit this to, like, a literary magazine or something like that, a lot of them say, we only publish new material even if your story has been published on a message board or you've read it somewhere else, like on a podcast, for example, then we're not going to publish it. So I'm like, all of a sudden I submit this story that I spent 2 days on, and it's fucking published.
Right.
And if I don't win, which I probably won't because there's 328 people trying to win this, then now, like, this is all this was for, was to just throw it up on this website along with everybody else. I just felt like that cheapens my work a lot. If you submit to a contest and you don't win, you don't have to go around telling everybody, hey,
totally,
like, but this just shows that your thing lost.
Right. And good old Google, if somebody was to Google your name, there it is.
That could come up. And then so it comes up and somebody clicks on it. and they see that, oh, Kayla's story has 0 comments.
Right.
And she put it on this thing and nobody gives a shit.
Or
Might work.
you were writing something for this specific prompt.
Yeah.
That's not normally your style.
Yeah.
And someone now thinks that's your style. I mean, you
Exactly.
you have to keep in mind what you're submitting and who's going to see it. It's fun writing these prompts. However, if it's not in your style of what you want to present yourself as an author, if you are to become successful at this, which, I can only assume we are, and that you will be.
Yeah.
There's some things that you won't want out there.
Yeah, it's like part of your portfolio, right?
Right.
And I think I just want to treat my work as though it's valuable, because if I don't place value on it, then nobody else will.
Absolutely. Good. I like that.
And
Yes.
just fuck that. Fuck that, honestly. And okay, so I guess I'm getting all mad at Reedsy. After that, after I see it come up, I'm like, what the hell? And I look at their, so I'm like, let me read your terms of use. And I, like everyone else on the planet, get these like terms of use that are super long anytime I download an app or anything, and you just click accept, right?
Of course.
And that's what I did on this contest. But I realize now that as a writer, if you're submitting to contests and publications and stuff like that, you should at least know a few things about the terms of use. And if you're comfortable with that, and with Reedsy, they're not that long. There's like 7 different categories and you can kind of just skim through it. But basically what I was looking at was the use of submissions. What are they going to do with this writing, and who owns the copyright and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So each entrant of this contest retains the copyright to their entry, but they grant Reedsy a non-exclusive, irrevocable, perpetual, transferable, sub-licensable, worldwide, royalty-free license to store, publish, edit, and otherwise use the entry on their website and platforms to publish and blah, 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 blah. So basically, like, you own the copyright, so you can go publish it wherever else you want, but they can also do whatever they want with it.
Right.
Which is fine. Like, for me, I don't
Including edit it. That's interesting.
That's annoying.
Yeah.
What if they just totally...
What if they
Anyway.
edit it and then sell it as a movie, and then you're just like, fuck.
Yeah, they say they can edit it, publish it, including within a compilation together with others into a book format or any format, which may be published or sold or provided free of charge at Reedsy's discretion. Okay, so if your story is selected as the winner, but even if it's not selected as the winner, you can still publish the story elsewhere, but the publication must include the relevant prompt, so you can't take the prompt out, an acknowledgement to Reedsy.com for providing the prompt that inspired the story. This acknowledgement should be in the form of a mention, or in the case of a digital publication, a do follow link back to blah, 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 the website.
Okay.
So it's like, say I get it published somewhere else, then at the bottom it says originally published as part of the promptly blah, blah, blah. This was the prompt. Here's the link.
Right.
And I don't know. I was just like, this is too much, bro. Like,
Yeah.
just for something that I hit submit on and that never wasn't
Right.
a winner and nobody ever looked at. It's like now every time I have to say that I did it through here. Like,
Right.
It was just bullshit. So I talked to my husband about it, he's like, he's a manager at his tech job, and sometimes I use him to like manage me
Of course.
if I'm confused about what I'm doing. And he's like, well, what if you just leave it up on the website for a week, and then if it wins, then you can leave it, and
Right.
if it loses, then you can just take it down and pretend it never happened. But I'm not organized enough to like be checking back and waiting and do all this stuff, so I just deleted it.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like my story. I think it's kind of cool. And I like that Rachel workshopped the ending with me. The ending, I had it end almost the exact same as the last. So these are my first short stories. Like I wrote the last one, and then I wrote this one. So I've only written 2. I've written a
hold
whole
on.
novel.
Call back to the last one. It was the one with the cats, the 17 cats.
Oh, wait. So I've written 3?
Well, that's the one that like has a similar ending, right? Which one
Do
is
3 of them have? Okay. I think I maybe have written 3 short stories now. So I have There was the prompted one about with the cats, which I
Right.
didn't really like that one that I
love
wrote.
that one. Okay, keep going.
Really?
Yeah.
What happens at the end of it? The cats.
She's on the oh, she's having the asthma attack.
Oh shit. Okay, yeah. So she's like dying at the end of it from an asthma attack. Then my first short story that I wrote, which I really like, called #Van Life.
Oh yes, right.
See, this is
right.
the one that is the same because at the end of this story, or I'm totally spoiling it, but at the end of these stories, the protagonist cracks their head on the cement.
Yeah, you got a lot of head cracking.
The heads crack. I'd be writing
These
about
women are in danger.
cracking heads. I know. So when my story ended with her cracking her head on the cement, I was like, okay, girl, like, we've explored this.
Yeah.
Maybe we can do something else. And so I workshopped that with Rachel, and I came up with a different idea. And it was still sort of like a cliffhanger-y, like, oh my God, what's she going to do now?
It was a good cliffhanger. I liked it.
It's so crazy, though, like, how many of the same themes are in this short story as the first one that I wrote. Like, there's, like, sort of an abduction vibe. There's, like, a mother-daughter thing. There's, like, this person that, this sort of sexy person that's kind of dangerous in it.
Yeah.
But everything else, like, that's the scaffolding, but, like, everything else is, like, sort of different. If I'm going to write short stories, I need to write different kinds of short stories. I can't just keep on writing the same thing where the lady gets lured into some situation and then unalived. Oofed.
Okay, but hold on. Is that just where your muse is telling you to go? At some point, you kind of just have to follow where it's taking you, right?
Maybe. But it almost feels like I'm forcing things with these prompts and stuff.
Okay. Well,
especially the cat one. I was like, my muse had nothing to do with that. She was like covering her ears with her hands, being like, la 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 la. This is not my shit, guys. This is not my shit. If we read our stories on our podcast, is that going to fuck us
I don't think so.
with publishing?
I mean, I think that if it's a story that we think could be turned into a novel, which is what we both want to be as novelists, then we should not be reading it. You know?
Yes.
I think that would fuck us. The one I'm currently working on, I'm not sharing it. This is. I feel like it's gonna go somewhere. It's
short story.
No, it's turning into a long story. I'm on.
My heart.
It's getting long.
When did you start it?
They haven't even had dinner yet. It's a story about dinner. It started as a story. Okay, well, wait. Should I save this?
I know what you're saying now.
Yeah, should I save this until are we ready to talk about it now? Or should we wait?
Sure, because we talked about the Reedsy thing and how fucked up the terms of service at Reedsy are.
Well, no offense, Reedsy, but like, yes, lesson has been learned. Read the terms of service before we jump into anything.
Yeah. I think that Reedsy, what I would recommend that you guys do is for the winner or one of the winners, sure, they have to use this, they have all these terms of service. But for the person who loses, isn't that enough of a kick in the teeth? Now you have to take their work away from them. I think that for the loser, they shouldn't have to, anytime they publish it somewhere else, like, stick a thing under it. And I think that when they submit their story, you should ask them if they want to publish it on your website before you just go bing, bang, boom, here it is for the world to see.
Right.
That's what I would recommend.
Okay, well, talking about losing for a second here, because loser, I am. I got 2 rejection letters this past weekend. One from Wild Landscape, which was a cool little publication that I submitted the compliment to, my short story that had won at the school. And again, because all of these places allowed simultaneous submissions, so I sent the story to a few different places. So that one rejected, and then Lit Nerds rejected it, which was fine. I'm fine. I'm not upset about it. However, my first rejection letters,
yeah,
I mean, it's a little stingy. I mean, I'm okay with it. I feel like I got what I wanted out of the compliment with my winning the place at the Writers' Ruckus. However, woof, that's rough.
Yeah, you felt it, the sting.
Well, yeah.
So were the rejection letters personal?
Do you want me to read one to you? You can
Sure.
hear what it sounds like.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they were automated. They were pretty much just like, okay, here we go. Hello, Rachel. Thank you so much for your submission to Wildscape Literary Journal. We know how much time it takes to prep and submit work, and we appreciate that you chose to do this. I'm bummed to say that we will have to pass on this piece this time around. Unfortunately, it just is not what we're looking for at this time. We wish you the very best placing your work elsewhere, and I welcome you to submit work to us again in the future. Rachel. Warmly, Ophelia.
Ophelia, what a beautiful name.
It is a beautiful name. So I'm pretty sure that's a cut and paste type of rejection letter. However, it does feel, I mean, it wasn't just like denied, you know.
Yeah, I wonder if they have two rejection letters, like one that says we welcome you to submit again in the future and one that just doesn't.
One that's like, you're a creep, never come back here.
Yes.
Probably.
Or like you just are very far away from being ready to publish, or some people probably can't.
Well, maybe. They might just say that's not even worth their time. Get the nice rejection letter and out you go. The Littner's one was much shorter. It was, Dear Rachel, thank you for submitting the compliment to us. While we don't feel that this particular piece is the right fit for us right now, we wish you the best of luck in finding another home for your work. So, yeah. I mean, that one was a little bit more.
I don't know. Okay, so I have Tales of Rejection.
Tell me.
Yeah, so I have my novel that I wrote. And so when you're looking to get your novel published traditionally, which is to say, like, probably by one of the big 4 publishing houses, you can't just submit your work directly to the publisher. They won't accept it anymore, so you have to have an agent. So there's like this sort of like weaning process before it even gets to the publisher.
Right.
So the agents are sort of like a first layer of gatekeepers.
Right.
So what I've heard is that many agents will get 100 emails like a week.
Okay.
Who are people querying them for representation. So there's a lot of people who have written books and they're trying to get an agent. There's just like a word for this stage of your career called querying. It's like #am querying. Right now I'm querying agents.
Okay.
So I'm in that stage, but I'm really bad at it. I have a spreadsheet. People will say I queried 100 agents before I got an agent.
Wow.
Only 3 of them sent me a personalized email about my thing. And like, there's not a lot of feedback that happens, and there's a ton of rejection that happens, even if you have good work.
How does one become an agent?
I know.
Maybe I should just become an agent. Just like, then I'll just meet some publishers and just work for myself.
Yeah. And throw your shit in. Yeah. We should be each other's agents.
Hey. All right, well,
we'll
come
how
back
to
to
make a Squarespace. We can make our own little Squarespace agency. We just have to figure out how. Actually, with that being said, there was this comedian, I'm trying to remember, I want to say like Molly Shannon. Maybe it was Molly Shannon. Anyways, on a talk show, she was like, she said that she just would pretend to be an agent for her friends, and her friends would pretend to be an agent for her, like as an actor and a comedian, and just call things and submit her for auditions, and then she would just go.
It works. I used to do that in Vegas with my friends when I was like 21, like on the town. I would call ahead to different clubs and say, Rachel, she's coming tonight. I need you to make sure that you have the reservation ready for her. She will be arriving at 8 with a group of, 8 people, and they'll be like, oh, no, we don't have her on the list. I'm like, you don't have her on the list? And like make a whole thing about how like she should have been on the list, and you better get it together. And usually the person answering the phone was like, oh yeah, okay, I'll make sure it's together. And then we had a table at every club with like bottle service, like the whole works. It worked every time.
Oh my God.
Vegas hack. Just be your own assistant, and they don't know, and they get scared.
I love the part where you said they get scared. Oh my God, it's so funny.
Okay,
Dude.
So what we've learned is take a note from 21-year-old Rachel's book and just call around.
Yeah, hey, if you don't call around, no one else will, because it's really fucking hard to get an agent.
I mean, there's not a agent degree, is there? Like, you don't, like, have it's not like MD. No one's checking agent credentials.
I feel like there's, I mean, people have different, like, they'll say things about themselves too. But basically, like, they'll say, oh, I worked for Penguin Random House as an editor, and I went to school, and I went to school for, like, publishing or literature, like, whatever it is, like, something in there, but we could just make that shit up too.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's circle back to this.
Okay.
We won't be liars. We're going to try to keep it
We would never do that.
Yeah, we're going to try to keep it as real as possible until we are on our last legs.
Yes, exactly. Oh my God. So, anyway, so my rejection was I have queried 10 agents over the last, like, I'm supposed to be doing this every day, and it's been months, and I've only done 10. Because it sucks. It's the worst. Like, you have to research every agent and figure out what they're looking for and what's their hashtag manuscript wish list.
Oh, right. Well, this is how we started talking about romanticy.
Is it?
Yeah, because when we started talking about Thorns and Roses, Court of Thorns, that's you. We were talking about how you're submitting, and they all want romanticy.
Yes. Anyway, whatever. So this is my rejection, is that I got rejected by some of the agents. Like, there was this one guy that I met at the San Francisco Writers Conference like 4 years ago, because I've gone twice. And basically they used to have this thing that was like speed dating with agents. So they would have 20 different agents there at different tables, and you would research the agents a little bit first to figure out which ones you wanted to talk to, and then you would just like go and do that, and you would have like 5 pages with you, and you'd pitch your book. At the time, I thought I had a book, but I didn't. It was only 30,000 words, which isn't a book. And it was basically like a concept. It didn't have much of a plot. I was literally the last person to do it because I was lost and ADHD and I didn't know what was going on. So basically, probably like 100 people or 200 people had come through this room and pitched their books to these agents in 5-minute increments all day long.
Yeah.
So the agents were like, get me the fuck out of here. And I was like, oh, knock, 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 my turn. And I like went in and like, I would be astounded if I got an agent from that. And I was not ready, but I did talk to this one dude. He didn't seem that excited about it. Oh, okay, wait, I have to tell this one part.
Okay.
So there's this guy, Andy, and he's part of a literary agency in San Francisco, and he's sitting there. And I go up and I'm like, this is what my book is about, la la la, like, will you be my agent? And he was like, no. He was like, I don't think that's for me. And he like sort of had this like cute little attitude, like kind of looking at me like, are you for real? And he's like, you know, you really need to have something magical. Like, you know, just something that just grips you, and it just is like, it has that special something or something like this. And I can't believe I did this. I put my 5 pages on the table and I slid them over to me, and I was like, does this have that something?
Ooh,
and he put on his glasses and he looked down and he read for like 10 seconds and he pushed it back and he said no. I was like,
I love that. I'm sorry.
He was just over it. He's like, this bitch, this privileged little bitch. And it's so crazy because it's like, when do you get rejected by a man in this life? Like, it's truly, it feels weird.
Yeah.
So then I went to like this other guy, Michael Levine, Levine, who I think he's out of LA. He has sold thousands of projects to like television and stuff. He's like a lawyer, so he's really good at that part, like working out your contracts and stuff. But he also does books, but I think he really likes doing like screenplays and stuff. I have his card, maybe in the future.
Cool.
So I emailed him. So finally, years later, I actually have a real book, and I emailed him, and I had his card on a corkboard above my desk forever, because when I pitched it to him, I think he just felt sorry for me and he gave me his card. And then I went back to my little group of writers like that I had met at the conference, and I was like, well, I did get like this guy's card, but I think he gives it to everyone. And all my little new friends were like, no, he doesn't give that to people. Like, this is great. He's Kayla, the best one. Like, da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, oh my God. So I put it on my corkboard, and I'm like, one day I'll send it to Michael Levine, and then he'll be my guy. And then, you know, who knows what will happen. And he just emailed me back a few days later and just said, that's not for me. And it wasn't even, there was no even like punctuation. It wasn't, it's just, that's not for me. No capital on the T. I was like, damn.
Sheesh.
But I did not let that get to me. That didn't hurt. That one didn't hurt. I was like, I don't expect this guy to understand the nuances of my book. Like, he wants to publish shitty stuff, and that's not what this is. No offense, Michael. I have to tell myself something. So then I have to go to my spreadsheet and write no. And then I got 2 more rejections. One of them was from a lady named Lily Dolan. And I read her manuscript wish list. I was like, this is exactly my book. Like,
yeah.
I was excited. I'm like, she's open for submissions. She's kind of like my age. She's like my vibe. I have exactly what she wants. And I was really, really hopeful, and I sent it to her. And when I first read my rejection, I was just hurt, and I thought it was just like a canned response.
Sure.
But then I went back and I read it again, and she did say, you know, I didn't love these pages as much as I wanted to, and as much as I would need to in order to champion this work. But I have no doubt that you will find an agent that's a good fit for you.
Oh, that's a great letter, actually.
Yeah, I was like, you know, she didn't have to say that, and it means that she read the pages, because you have a letter, a synopsis, and then you attach however many pages. So I'm like, she was hooked by the letter, so that's a good sign.
Yeah.
She wanted to keep reading. She read them. It didn't really like grab her for whatever reason. That's fine, but she thinks that I should keep trying.
Yeah.
So I thought that was like kind of positive.
Definitely.
And then, guys, I got sort of a win. I got an email back from an agent he's in Canada, which I want a Canadian agent.
Sure.
He's in Toronto. He's the president of a really good agency.
Okay.
I sent it to him rather than the other agents, the agents at the place.
Yeah,
I sent
go
it
to
to
the
the
top.
president.
Yeah.
He was like, I have like on his thing, he's like, I have a small list of people that I do, but, you know, I'm not really doing it. I'm like, okay, sent it to him because 2 of my favorite authors are 2 of his favorite authors.
Okay.
I wrote the corniest thing in the letter. I said, I'm writing for you to represent me because you are a star and that's what I'm shooting for.
Oh, that's adorable.
I was like, I know it's corny, but it's true. And then I sent it to him, and I got an email back, and he's like, he had said to wait for like 6 months. Like, if I don't get back to you in 6 months, it's a no.
Okay.
And it was like a week later, and he was like, hey, thank you so much for sending this to me. If you don't have an agent yet, can you please send me the full manuscript?
Dang!
And I'm like, if I don't have an agent yet, baby.
Yeah, that's
Like,
exciting.
Okay, honey.
Yeah.
So I sent it to him.
This was last week?
Yeah, this was, yeah.
Kayla, you've been sitting on an egg.
Sitting on an egg,
A golden
girl.
egg.
Okay, Rachel has chickens in her yard. Literally, when I came over here, she was with the chickens, so...
I know a lot about eggs, and you were sitting on one,
I
okay?
was sitting on... I know, I didn't tell you on purpose, because I was like...
Oh, that's so exciting. Here, what was this guy's name again?
Oh, I didn't say his name, should I?
Oh, I don't know. Is it a secret? I don't know how this works.
I don't remember his name.
Oh, okay. He's just your star.
One day I'll remember my shooting star's name when he accepts me into his...
Okay, let's...
But okay, so that's my rejection and your rejection. So I'm okay with mine. How are you? Like, how are you feeling about do you feel like your work is bad or?
No, I don't feel
not.
like it's bad. I feel really confident in my work, actually.
Good, 'cause it is good.
Thank you. I haven't faced a lot of rejection in my life.
No.
I realize.
Yeah.
Um,
I can see
so,
why.
so I mean, I think that there's 2 ways that can go, right? It's either it can tear you down and you're like, oh my God, this is the first time I've ever really been rejected. Or it's like, I know my shit is good, you know, like, and I feel like that's kind of where I'm at.
One thing that I've really learned from our book club is that sometimes I'm like on the outs in terms of like, I like things the rest of the book club doesn't like.
It's true.
Have you noticed that?
Of course I have. The 2 books you've recommended, all of us were like, meh.
Yeah, so I recommended All Forest by Miranda July, and Miranda July is one of my favorite artists and writers.
Well, and it's an extremely popular book right now.
Yes.
I mean, I have heard people talking about it and been like, should I go back? I just couldn't get out of the fucking motel. I just couldn't get out of the motel. Like, you're spending $10,000 fucking dollars. Okay, keep going.
To renovate a motel. Yeah.
I just can't. I couldn't. I just want to slap her.
Oh, okay. So Rachel had a different opinion. And I was like, I thought it was great. And then when everybody else likes things, for example, he read Shark Heart, A Love Story.
Yes.
Which is usually totally my type of thing, like this weird, quirky, like something I've never heard before. But I couldn't get into it, and it's not to say that it wasn't a good story. I thought the writing was beautiful. It just wasn't the type of thing I usually like to read. I like to read things that are a little bit more, have more things happening in the scene, whereas I felt like the way the narrator was in that book, it's just a lot of like narration. Like,
It was a lot of narration.
it's just sort of like, sort of like outlining or outlining a character, explaining how they feel, explaining this, explaining that, but not really like showing it as much. And I don't think you have to do only show, no tell. I think there should be a mix, but for me, the mix was not the way I like to read a story.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I forget what I was...
Well, in our book group, you are often on the...
Yeah. So what I've learned from that is that just my shit is not going to be for everybody, and that's actually a good thing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not writing Young Sheldon or something that it can be, like, consumed by everybody in the nation, and it's just meant for the widest general audience ever. And not every publication should publish it, and I don't, so...
And there's a lot of amazing authors who aren't Colleen Hoover, like she's pumping out stuff, and it's not bad stuff. Like, it's very entertaining. Her books are very entertaining.
Yeah.
And they're fun beach reads, and like, or not necessarily a beach read for some of them, but like, that's not your goal.
That's not,
I don't know if that would be the
not
right goal unless you really had that in your heart to be,
Yeah, exactly. And I don't. So that's just like part of the process too of figuring out like who you are as a writer and an author, and how you want to show up in life. And I think that's not going to be a Colleen Hoover probably.
Totally.
But yeah. And that's like with like doing contests and like letting your work just be like splat out on some platform. Like, don't do that to yourself. Like, have more, just place more value on your work.
Totally. I think that was the key is if you don't value it, no one else does. Mm-hmm. And I like that you value your work a lot. I think that's really important. I mean, truly any art, if you don't value it, nobody will.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, art is arbitrary. All art is completely arbitrary. It's like,
yeah,
who puts a number on it? You.
Yes.
Or some art collector, and that's arbitrary to them too.
Yeah, so often even like agents or publishers or editors, they don't know what's going to pop off, right? So I don't know how long we've been going, but I have a lot of thoughts on inspiration and like the muse. Do you think that I should talk about that?
Talk about your muse. I definitely want to hear about your muse.
Okay, so we talked about the muse on maybe the first episode or something like that. And basically we both listened to this TED Talk by Elizabeth Gilbert, who is the author of Eat, Pray, Love. And she did this TED Talk back in 2009. When I first listened to it, it didn't do anything for me, but when I re-listened to it lately, it really, really got under my skin. And basically she talks about how in ancient Greece and Rome, people didn't think that creativity came from the individual human being. They thought it came from somewhere else. The Greeks thought it came from daemons. Like Socrates famously thought that he had like a daemon on his shoulder that would like inspire him. The Romans called them like the genius that lived in the artist's studios.
And I love that analogy. I think it's so great.
And a person wasn't a genius. The genius was.
Yes.
But then once the Renaissance came, it's like they started calling people themselves geniuses. This was like the story that she tells in the TED Talk that like really, really hit me. And it's what is happening to me kind of. So there's this poet, Ruth Stone. And when she was a kid in rural Virginia, she'd be out working in the fields. and she would feel and hear a poem coming at her from the landscape.
Ooh.
And it would like, yeah. So she's in the field. She like could hear it coming. And she would feel the ground like vibrating under her feet. And she knew when she could feel it coming that she had to run like hell back to the house. So she would start running and she could kind of like feel the poem coming after her. And then she would sit down and write it down. And if she didn't get there soon enough, the poem would pass through her and it would be on its way to find another poet.
Sure.
To express it.
I mean, it sounds a little nuts, and I also love it so much.
Yes.
Yes.
Me too. And it also makes me think about Harold Arlen was the composer who did the music for The Wizard of Oz.
Okay.
He did like hundreds of amazing songs. But he was working on The Wizard of Oz and he was getting really frustrated because they needed like a ballad and it just wasn't coming. And then his sweetheart was like driving him around in Hollywood and a melody came to him and he's like, pull over. And she had to pull over to the side of the road and he jotted it down and it was Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Oh, I love that.
What I'm talking about is like the muse or like when you get this like divine inspiration, or maybe it's divine, maybe it's not, but when you get inspired to make art and how you have to do it right then. Hop on it and grab it right then. And if you don't do that work, it will pass on through you to somebody else. And I believe that there's just something higher that needs to be expressed. I had this thing recently where, the last season of White Lotus?
Of course.
The character Chelsea, who
I love her.
we love.
Of course.
She has this line, she's like, it's like we're in this yin-yang battle. I'm hope and Rick's pain, and eventually one of us will win. And she talks more about the yin-yang in the season. And I was so pissed when she started talking about the yin-yang because I was like, oh my God, like that's mine. Like,
You own that?
it's in my book. It's a big part of my book.
Okay, yes.
And I was like, oh, Mike White, like the Muse, like was like, oh, Kayla's taking too long. Kayla can't get an agent. Let's go over to Mike White over here who can get this shit done.
Yeah.
I guess I don't actually believe that, but it was like there's this thing.
Why not? Why not?
Why not believe that?
Yeah, fuck it. Like, who's gonna tell you you're wrong?
Yeah, I know. That's kind of my vibe about like the spiritual stuff right now.
Totally.
So, Alan Watts, I think about this all the time. I had this weird yoga instructor who was like this very spindly guy called Deeb.
Oh, I love Deeb. I took classes from Deeb.
You did?
Yeah.
He's very bendy.
He's very bendy.
And skinny.
He's very skinny.
And he wears little shorts.
He sure does.
He, not even like shorts that are tight, like they're loose.
Yeah, no, they're just
Loose shorts.
Yeah.
In yoga.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he wears a shirt.
Sometimes he does not.
You don't have to. So he said this once during yoga, and it was during like a very intense, like bendy part where we're like holding some fucked up bendy position, you know, when you're like, I'm a pretzel, how did this happen? How do I get out of this? And then you just keep breathing in it for like 50 seconds until your mind goes to like a completely different place. Mm-hmm. And then Deeb goes, we are the universe experiencing itself. And I'm like, we are? And he's like,
that.
So then I think about that all the time. We are the universe experiencing itself. So I looked it up and it's an Alan Watts quote. And he says it a bunch of different ways. He says, through our eyes, the universe is perceiving itself. We are all fractions of the universe experiencing ourselves and each other. And if you see it that way, nothing is really that scary anymore.
It's cool. I mean, it's true. It gave me chills.
I feel like we are the universe experiencing itself and I think expressing itself.
Totally.
So I feel like there's something with that, with the Muse. Carl Jung had this idea of the collective unconscious, which suggests that all humans share a common psychic realm. It's inherited from our ancestors rather than being formed solely by individual experiences. So there's your own unconscious, right? But then there's like a collective one. And that's where like symbols reside and like the yin yang.
Absolutely.
And, like, things that I feel like ring true for all of humanity.
Yeah.
like the yin yang, like there's something, a little bit of good and everything bad, and there's a little bit of bad and everything good. Like that just makes fucking sense to us.
Right. Well, and then when you put something out into the universe, it's out there now, and like it's been out there, so it starts to, you know, reverberate off of the other things, I feel like.
Yes.
Did you watch The Secret or read The Secret?
I did. Yes, I did watch it back in the day.
I mean, obviously it's not exactly what you're talking about, but it is also adjacent, you know, like it's this, the universe is bigger and it is all connected. And so when you are manifesting something for yourself, you're putting it out there, even if it's still in your head. And I think that things really do, you know, pass you by if you don't harness it. Like if you thought it, that means it's out there. Like, so take it or not.
Yeah. Oh my God. So it's been happening to me, like at night, where I've had weed and wine and stuff, and I stay up way too late. I'm like a really bad sleeper. 2 a.m. or 3 a.m, and I'm tossing and turning and stuff. And then I get this amazing idea. And my husband is sleeping beside me. I need sleep so bad. I'm like, this is way past the point. Like, this is out of control. If I don't fall asleep now, I'm going to be so fucked tomorrow. And then all of a sudden I get, like, the muse goes, hey, bitch. And starts talking to me. I swear to God. It's like, my muse is so annoying. She's a bitch. I hate her.
Can you tell us a little bit about what she's telling you? I don't even know what she's telling you. What is happening?
So I'm starting a new novel, and it's inspired.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't feel like the same as, oh, I got this prompt and I have to make this guy have all these cats and let's see what happens. Like, which I think is great practice for the craft. Like, I think
Sure.
it is good.
Of course.
But it's like, I have to write this, and nobody else... If I saw this fucked up idea somewhere else, I would puke and barf and shit and die. Like, it was so crazy.
I'm so excited.
So it's speculative. Do you remember? So I told you about this author that I love, Sayaka Murata, and she writes these crazy stories like Vanishing World, where... So I told you about Sayaka Murata, who is this Japanese writer, and she does this really, like, avant-garde, crazy stuff about these speculative worlds that are, like, close to our worlds. But what she does is she takes conventions, things that you think you could never change. Like, you cannot see a world this way. Like, in her...
Sure. Like, the sky is blue.
Yes.
Yes.
She has this story in her book of short stories called Life Ceremony, where... When somebody dies, the way that you honor them is to eat them.
Oh.
To feast on them.
Okay.
As a group.
Yum, yum, yum. Don't yuck the yum.
Don't yuck the yum yum. And you think right now, that's so gross. The world could never look like that. And there's another thing where people... They want their bones and their skin and their hair, like everything, to be of use after they die. So
I can get behind that.
it can, like, their bones can be used to make, like, furniture. So you can be sitting on a chair and be like, that's grandma.
Okay.
And, like, there's this one woman who she's like, her wedding veil is given to her, and it's her grandfather's skin.
Ew.
And it's like, she describes it as like being like translucent, and she puts it over her head, and it's beautiful, and she can even see like her grandfather's mole, and so...
What the fuck? Well, that is definitely
inspired by the muse.
Yeah.
So anyways, my thing is sort of like that.
Cool.
Like, not like that, but in a way where you're like, that could never happen. I can't imagine a world like that. But then I want to frame it in such a way that it, like, becomes true. Kind of like that book, Shark Heart.
Yeah, I was just thinking that when you were saying that. Like, part of our discussion in book group was how this world, people mutate into animals. And they don't have any scientific explanation for it throughout the book. Which some people were saying that maybe they would have liked. And majority of us were like, no, it's better that it's not explained, because then it makes it, then you can take yourself out of this world and you have to come back into reality and make sense of it. just people mutating into animals. That's what it is in this world. And people wear skin in that woman's world.
Yes, and it's it's like you have to suspend your disbelief to buy in. And I think also, like, if you don't be like, oh, this book is describing what would actually have to happen biologically for this to, like, take place within the body and then you get to sort of make your own little inferences and be like, oh, like, what, how would, I've thought of something like that has happened before, and, like, what if evolution was sped up, and, like, or, like, you don't even have to, because you can just follow the plot and fall in love with the characters.
Right.
So, anyways, that's what I want to do. I want to be one of these, like, weird girl lit kind of things.
I love it.
And I feel, like, really excited, but my other book wasn't like that, so I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, so?
But the Muse, the other night, she came to me in the middle of the night, and I didn't.
You didn't go to her? Mm-mm. Oh, no, what happened?
I was just so tired, and it was like...
You have written since, right?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, no, Kayla!
She gave me an idea, like, for... Like, I've written down sort of, like, some stuff about what this book is going to be, and then there was, like, this whole other idea about it that was, like, really cool, but I don't remember it. It came in the middle of the night, and what I needed to do was grab my phone and just quickly make some notes about it. That's what I've been doing, but I didn't do it.
Or even, do you ever use voice memos? Just say it real quick. I mean, I guess you're trying to be quiet for your husband, but...
Yeah, but maybe just, hey, you're...
Just, like, whisper into your phone.
You're married to a crazy artist.
That's funny because you are up late and I am up early. I have been waking up at 4 a.m. every morning the past, like, 4 days... Just like, I have to write. I have to write this story, this dinner for 8 thing. I have just, like, I can't... Literally this morning, I was up at 3:58, and I was like, I'm not going to go back to sleep. I'm going to make myself a cup of coffee and just write. And so it's been that for the past few days, and I'm having so much fun with it.
Oh my God.
This story is really fun.
So, this story is spicy.
It's got a little spice in it. Okay, so you guys... will remember that I've never written spice before. I had never written it before. And then I had a classmate who was like, are you even into dudes? And I was like, I think I am.
Oh, are you even into dudes?
Yeah. Which I am into dudes. I am married to a man. However, I was like, okay, but clearly I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to writing it. And we talked about how I'm a little bit of a closed off person. So in the story that I had written originally, the ghost story, it made sense that I was writing it as it happened because it was a true story to me. And that is literally how I act. So I needed to remove myself. So this story that I'm now currently working on, some classmates of I, they started a prompt page where they just write prompts for each other. Majority of the little group in that class are poets. So they were writing poetry prompts for each other. And I can do poetry. I now can accept that I can do poetry. They were putting these prompts. Okay, whatever. I was like, I'm going to add some, but I'm going to add some that are good for short stories because that's where I reside. I reside in a short story world at this time. And one of the prompts that I put up, so I prompted myself is what I'm saying, really. But I wasn't planning on prompting myself, okay? I was writing it like, okay, I'm going to write it for you guys, this prompt. I put out there, you're having a dinner party for 8 people, and you have a night of games to play. One of the guests brings a date, and it is your secret ex that you've toiled over for years, but only the 2 of you know. That's the prompt.
Sexual.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to have fun with it. And all of these people are like, 20 years younger than me. So I was like, I'm just going to write something and whatever. They're over 18 and like I'm gonna test it out because it could get sexy, right? Mm-hmm. And the first little like all these people are coming to the party and then this ex comes through the door and like so I write this little piece where like she like they see each other and she can like remember how he felt against her skin, you know, like all of this. And it was good. And I was like, oh my God, have I finally met a sex muse, a spice muse for myself in writing? I think I did.
So this character, this guy that comes through the door, he makes you think of horny things. This character.
Yeah.
He's a... And so you needed to take yourself out of it, you said, because the sexy thing, like you just wrote about making out with a dude outside of the door of an apartment, and that was something that had really happened, and this is the way that you acted.
Right.
But then your classmates were like, does she even like dudes? She doesn't even seem like she likes that guy. And you're like, what? This was like a cute, sexy, flirty little scene. So you're like, okay, well, I'll take myself out of it, and I'm just going to be from the character, and then I'll be less uncomfortable if I'm thinking of like my own experiences. So these are your own feelings and experiences, or you're like, this character feels this way?
None of them are things that have actually happened. So I think that that's key for me. It has to be a situation that has not actually happened. My imagination can work for me, but my reality, I don't know how to I can't transcribe it. You know, and I think that was the problem with the ghost story, is I was trying to transcribe this interaction that happened between me and this ex-boyfriend in Modesto. You know, like that wasn't a good moment. However...
What, the actual time when...
The actual time when I was making out with a guy in the front of the apartment, I wasn't into him. So it made sense that they thought I wasn't into dudes.
That's so funny that it came out that they could feel that, because you didn't... In the story, you didn't say, like, oh, and it wasn't that great, but...
No, because, I mean, in the moment when I was 18...
It was fun.
It was fun. I was making out with a guy at the front door. I didn't realize that my bitchiness... in real life was coming out on the paper as much as it was. You know?
Rachel's sassy.
I'm quite sassy.
She's got a little sass going on.
But it's fun. This current one has been fun to write, because I'm like, okay, so they're exes. So they have a history, and they have had all of this sex, and they've had all of this, like, history together, but it's a secret, which makes it even sexier. Like, their group of friends this group of friends, that's her friends, don't know about that they had ever dated. Whoa. And like, there's some intrigue.
Does he come with someone else?
Yeah.
As a date. And does she have a date or a husband or anything?
She has a wife. And the
wife.
Yeah, and this woman. Okay, so it's a group of 8 friends. They think this woman is hosting a dinner party. She thinks she's inviting her 7 or 6 closest friends, and then her husband's also there. And
or her wife's also there.
No, the main character is married to a man.
Oh.
Then the husband's best friend is this lesbian woman. Oh. And then it's the lesbian woman's wife who brings this other guy that she had met at a concert. And the wife is like, we were going through a hard time, I'm trying to mix it up. And the I don't know. God, I'm fucking this up. But like,
but wait.
The other wife didn't know.
Do you want to tell everybody this part, like about everything that's going on in your story?
I don't know. I feel like it's fine. The connection isn't very minimal. Like, that doesn't really matter. Oh, okay. I don't think.
So I'm sort of following. I'm sure that on the page, like, it's all clear.
Yes.
But E.L. James, the writer of 50 Shades of Grey, she tried everything out on her husband.
She did?
Which I guess
they had a red room of pain in their house.
I don't know, but it's funny because they're sort of okay. They're not like, they don't look like porn stars.
They're a basic old white couple.
Yeah, basic older, yeah. And so you're like, whoa. And she's like, yeah. Which I kind of get it, because the staging with sex, it's like, you have to actually be able to put your hand there and reach over there and, roll around that way. Right. And so I guess she was just doing some research. So
she just got out a few paddles and had him take a whack. Is that what happened?
Oh my god, I never read that book, but yeah, I can only imagine. But yeah, so are you gonna do that?
Practice with my husband? No, maybe. I don't know.
I guess it depends where it goes.
I think my husband would have to have a new personality because the sexy scenes that have been written thus far are like sex out at a concert and like they're memories that she's having of times that her and her ex have hooked up
in public.
Yeah, and then it's like flashing back because he's there sitting in front of her and it's like this hot like
I'm getting hot
fantasy where it's like this happened, you know, and she's remembering and getting hot.
Oh,
she's getting a little wet.
I'm getting a big wetty.
Anyway, it's fun. I'm so glad that like finally I'm feeling a little inspired to write this kind of stuff because I was a little scared after our conversation a few episodes ago where I was like, maybe I just am like a dried up old troll.
Oh,
you know, like
no.
maybe I don't have it in me to write that because the other novel I've been working on with Carolyn, hasn't gotten laid in a long time.
Well, I think that not every book has sex in it.
That's true.
And I don't know if I brought this up before, but that Shark Heart book, do they ever have sex in that book?
Well, they never talk about it. However, she's pregnant at the end. So
With a shark?
With a shark.
Oh,
She's not pregnant with a shark. She's pregnant and it is a human. But she did have sex with him while he was a shark.
A full shark.
Like a majority shark. Like he was in the shark. I don't.
You don't know how much.
Yeah.
But he probably still had a penis.
I assume.
I don't know if sharks have those.
I'm not familiar with the anatomy of a shark.
I don't think so.
But I do know that there's a big conversation in the book where she's talking about kissing him and like on a shark the scales can only go one direction, otherwise it cuts you. It's like razors on the other. So if you like you can go pet down like a hedgehog, you know, like you can pet down but you can't pet up, you know, and so they talk about that. So clearly it's a thing.
I feel like you'd like have to be like sliding off and getting back on and sliding off and getting back on. Because you couldn't like do like a normal like humping motion or like you know.
Up and down, that would be razors, right?
Oh my gosh, I hope it all worked out for those characters.
Well, he's released in the ocean.
Okay.
She's happily with child.
Okay. But anyways, what I mean is like that book was all about like this relationship and how much they love each other, and I just couldn't believe that I'm like, so you're just not going to tell us about their sex life when they're like this like married couple? Like,
That's true.
But there's lots of books that just like don't go there, and like it's fine. But for me, it's just such a big part of like life.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I poop every day, and that will never be in my book. I will never write about
Don't
somebody
say
doing
never.
that.
Maybe
Scatological.
Maybe.
So you don't have to. Maybe for some people, sex is like pooping, and they just think it's gross. They don't want to talk about it. Read about it.
We are going off the rails right now.
Who knows?
Okay, I figured out how to write spice. This is exciting.
Yeah.
And was there anything else that we were going to talk about today? And what are we going to talk about next week? Do we have something in mind? Or next week, next episode?
Oh, okay. Well, one thing that I have a couple things that I wanted to talk about and look into maybe with you.
Okay.
So there's this guy, Brandon Sanderson. Have you heard of him?
I have not.
He's a fantasy writer. He's wildly successful, popular. And I would love to talk about him. He has YouTube videos about craft and about being an author that are supposedly really, really good. So I want to watch those and maybe send those to you and we can talk about that. And then there's also this concept of something called thisness. And I want to talk about what thisness is. And then maybe we can both try to infuse our writing with a little bit of thisness, but I'm not ready to like talk about that today.
Okay. Yeah, for next time.
Yeah, but we don't have like a prompt or anything.
No prompt.
But we'll just keep writing and we'll talk more about that next time.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, bye everybody.
Goodbye.